It was 2 years ago today. 4-year-old Keira Kagan and her father fell to their deaths from a hiking trail in Milton. Although the cause is still officially undetermined, Keira's mother, Jennifer, believes she was murdered by her father and failed by a system that did not act on the warning signs. This is a story that has so many layers to it. It's a deeply saddening and disturbing story. Let's bring in our Cynthia Mulligan, who has been following this. Cynthia, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mel.
Let's first talk about Keira, because as mentioned, 2 years, but this is a young, beautiful girl. Let's talk about who she was.
And I think we have to remember at the very heart, as we talk about this story, this was a 4-year-old girl who died today at the foot of a cliff when she fell with her father. Her mother describes her as bright, as sassy. I mean, look at that smile. And she was just full of humor and personality. But Keira is going to remain forever 4. She will not be turning 7 this May. She will not be a big sister to her little brother. And Mel, to look back at what happened 2 years ago today, you have to look back at the marriage between her parents. Jennifer Kagan, a doctor, she was married to Robin Brown, who was an engineer, but Jennifer describes a man who was very controlling, a pathological liar. She says he invented that he had a PhD and a master's degree. She also describes violence in this marriage. So in one instance, Mel, she describes that in a fit of anger, her ex-husband took a mouse out of the dog's mouth that it had brought into the home, and then he shoved that mouse into her mouth. Now, when she left the marriage, Keira was 8 months old, and the divorce lawyer who oversaw the divorce proceedings ruled that she should have left, that it was good that she left this marriage. However, the judge that was overseeing the custody took a very different stance. And Mel, what we have to understand is the courts want families to have equal access, the mothers and the fathers, as much as possible. So they look at this as an abusive parent can still be a good parent, as long as, the abuse was against the partner and not the child. So in this instance, while Jennifer was given full custody and sole decision-making over Keira, her ex-husband was given generous access, 3 weekends a month, for example. And the situation quickly deteriorated from there. And that's when Jennifer says all the warning signs were lost, because the judge who oversaw the custody and gave such generous custody said domestic abuse, even though he acknowledged there was an incident and that Mr. Brown had a propensity to lie, he said it was irrelevant when it came to parenting the daughter.
Cynthia, I believe we have a clip here that you want to play for us. Can you please set this up?
Well, let's listen to the mother. I'm sorry, I'm not sure which clip we're playing, but let's listen to Jennifer. This is Jennifer Kagan.
It's truly broken me as a person, as a mother. No mother should ever go through this. No loving parent should ever go through this. And it's really hit me at my core. The rights of the abusive parent in this instance trumped Keira's right to safety. She was not protected, they failed her. I can't let what happened to Keira, be in vain. I can't let her just be victimized. I can't live the rest of my life as a victim.
Cyn, I cannot imagine the pain that this mother is going through and lives through every single day. I know you've had several conversations. How is she dealing? How is she able to cope?
Well, the pain has not lessened at all in 2 years. In fact, I almost think it's gotten worse for her because the shock has worn off. So she, as you heard, she doesn't want Keira's life to be in vain. She doesn't want Keira to forever be a victim. She wants her death to mean something. So for the last while, she has been advocating for a law, Keira's law, that makes it mandatory for judges to be trained in domestic violence. Because believe it or not, even though they make these critical decisions about a child's future, they have no mandatory requirement to have domestic violence training. And we know that there are risk factors. For example, in the US, there is a site that tracks child murders during divorce or custody. And they have found since 2008, 822 children have been murdered by one of their parents during this very challenging time. And for some, it's not just a small, challenging time. There are risk factors with domestic violence. There's even a U.S. or Canadian federal website that even acknowledges there is an overlap between domestic abuse to a partner that can overlap to the child. And it also says after a divorce, the risk increases because the parent who was abused is not there to protect the child. So Jennifer is fighting very hard for education. And I have to say, she's also launched a civil lawsuit against Jewish Family and Child Services, Mel, because 2 days before Keira's death, as the concerns over Mr. Brown were escalating, because after the divorce, the custody got even worse, and Keira was showing signs of psychological abuse, according to the mother. So they were trying to restrict access. Mr. Brown was found in violation of many court orders. He wasn't returning Keira, for example, on time. He was also found to defraud documents that he presented to the court. So judges were starting to understand that there was a problem, but Jennifer and her husband, she's now remarried, and they have a new baby, and things were getting even worse. She says her ex-husband was trying to get revenge against her. And judges were starting to notice, even though Jennifer was constantly asked, has he ever hurt Keira? Their answer was always not yet, but they were raising alarm bells and nobody was looking at the warning signs. But in the end, toward the final months, Jewish Child and Family Services was brought in. 2 days before Keira was killed, the caseworker, according to Jennifer and Philip, her new husband, called and said, I've just met with Robin Brown, and I believe that he is exhibiting signs of a parent who would kill or harm their child. But, she said, my supervisor wants to wait until Monday. This was on a Friday, the very day Mr. Brown was picking up Keira for the weekend, and they both died on the Sunday, the day before the caseworker said the supervisor was going to look at this. So Jennifer and Philip, her husband, believe that the system, every layer of the system that was designed and supposed to protect Keira, failed.
Cynthia, this is a heartbreaking story that is far from over. As you mentioned, Jennifer's fight here. I encourage everyone to please tune in to City News at 5, 6, and tonight for more on this. Cynthia, thank you so much for bringing us this.
Thank you.